Hey there, YouTube. Ghost Jake here with you today. How's your day going today? Mine is going pretty good. I just got done watching The Exorcist TV show, episode 8, and so my review is coming up pretty much right now. But before I start, if you have not seen episode 7, I suggest you go and do that before you watch this video because this will contain some spoilers. Alrighty, now here we go. Okay. Now this episode pretty much left off. This episode pretty much to left. This episode pretty much picked up immediately where episode 7 left off, where Angela, aka Reagan McNeil, comes into the church to see, comes into the church led by Father Thomas, knowing that they found Casey, right? And it's not just that Marcus found Casey, but it's not just Angela. It is Angela, Chris, Catherine, and her husband. It's all of them coming, right? All of them coming into the church. And then, like, the first time when Casey sees Angela, the demon is like laying down, and the demon like sits up, right? The demon like sits up and starts talking to Reagan. But then here is where it gets. Father Marcus starts pushing and telling him to get out of the room, right? Because, yeah, they're not supposed to be there. And then when the doors are closed and they're doing their exorcism on Casey, the demon like does something, because there is fighting that takes place between Father Marcus and Father Thomas. I think I think all the demon's doing is just influencing the fighting or amping it up, because they were arguing to begin with. Right, so I think he's just amping it up, making it amping. Yeah, I think he's just making the fighting worse and worse than what it actually is. Because Father Thomas was like, we could use Angela to draw the demon out, right? To get it focused on you, and then. And then Father Mark is like, no, you don't give a demon exactly what it wants. It's been pretty much after her for 40 plus years. And they continue the exorcism once they realize what's going, and they start continuing the exorcism. It's not really having much of an effect, but eventually Marcus gives in, But before this, those Angela before Angela, then we go back out. Angela is talking to her family, right? Saying you guys pretty much need to go home and start packing because once the exorcism happens, we are taking off because I don't want Casey to go through the same ordeal that I went through when she was younger. And then so we see they Angela, the priest, Thomas, and Marcus bring Angela into the exorcism room so she can assist in the exorcism, right? So she can assist in the exorcism. But on the way out, for her family, Catherine, Henry, and everyone, and Chris McNeil, they are stopped by the paparazzi and the police and whatnot, and they just rush through to get to the car. And Mother Bernadette is talking to the paparazzi, saying, "You guys need to leave. You're trespassing on private property." And the police show up, and they're like, "Yeah, we're already here." He's like, "Can we come in and search around?" And Mother Bernadette says, "No, you cannot." She's like, "Do you have a warrant?" It's like, "I didn't think I needed one." Responds the officer. But then what we have is they're packing. Now we have Angela in the room, right? Angela in the exorcism room. And she's saying some prayers along with the priest. And she's trying to talk to her daughter, drawing the demon's attention away from the priest. Right? And something happens during one of the prayers that Angela is mentioning. Right? It's like she has like a flashback to one of her memories, but what happens is like the demon takes her back in her mind, so he does something so she could remember exactly what happened when she was younger, when she was a kid, like when she was playing with the Ouija board and whatnot. And while we're inside of Angela's mind, we see her younger self playing with the Ouija board. And then we see Angela talking to the spirit. And it's been confirmed that the demon possessing Casey, is the exact same one that possessed Angela when she was younger. Even though we pretty much already knew that, but this episode kind of just made it 100% accurate, because what happened was she saw the guy, like the demon, inside her mind. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention. I can't believe I forgot this. before Angela came in to help, Father Marcus said to Angela, if you feel it poking around in your head, drop what you're doing and get the hell out of the room. Okay, now back to present where Angela's back in her memories. We see young Reagan playing with the Ouija board. And then the demon, then once it gets to the question like when it gets to the question about Angela asking if her mother will get married again, we see the guy say no. But before that, the question Angela asked, what is your name? And it spells out Captain Howdy. So pretty much the same demon that possessed Angela is possessing Casey. Anyway, then the demon comes and sits down right next to Angela. Right? And then Angela recognizes him from when she was 6 years old, right? Like, she was at the zoo, I believe she is what she said in the show. And he actually took a picture of her when she was a little kid. So that demon has followed that her family line, or just her, since she was really younger. Since she was a little kid. That's how much the demon was invested in Angela, or Reagan McNeil. Right? Then we are off to see excuse me. See Father Bennett talking to a few people. And she ends up and the people he talks to, they end up calling the police about the bodies that Father Bennett found. And then now we are going back to the exorcism. The exorcism continues and continues and continues. Right? The exorcism continues and continues and continues. And then while this is continuing, you can just see that progress is getting made, right? That it looks like the demon is getting a little bit weaker. So the exorcism is having an effect this time around. Right? It is having an effect this time around. And the demon sees it's like, okay, he's pretty much like, show's over. Like, I don't know if if he was planning on killing Casey, but because he started to do the 360 head spin, like in the original movie, right? And Angela grabbed her daughter and stopped it from happening, right? Stopped it from happening. And then all of a sudden, it's like something happens, right? And the demon appears to be gone, right? It seems like the exorcism was successful. Like the demon is gone out of Casey. So we have a success. Anyway, so what happens is Angela pretty much calls her family to let them know what's going on, and they take Casey immediately to the hospital. Right? They take Casey immediately to the hospital. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, the police are wanting to talk to Casey once she is healed. Because of the people she killed while she was possessed. And then Henry's pretty much like, well, talk to her lawyer. When the police is like, well, if she's innocent, it's like talk to her lawyer. She didn't do this. It's like, well, if she didn't do it, why would I need to talk to her lawyer? Not exactly making your situation better there. But like I said, they're planning on, like I said earlier in my review, they were planning on leaving, going to like Canada or California. So they're planning on skipping town anyway, most likely. So there you go. Anyway, right? Anyway, we see Father Bennett. No, wait. We see the guys in the. We see the guys. Yeah, we see Father Bennett. He's in this like hotel room. And he's like talking to the Pope. And he's like talking to the Pope and speaking like Latin or some sort of language. And he's telling him like that, and he's telling them that I'm like Maria Walters, and he's naming the list of people where he found like the bodies, and he's naming like the company, and he's naming, you know, like everything. Now we see Father Thomas and Marcus in a bar, right? In a bar, celebrating their supposed victory. Yay! And then Father Marcus is like, you know, Thomas, I was pretty much wrong to you. He's like, you do have the skills to be an exorcist if you want to. So it seems like they actually developed quite a good friendship other than just being colleagues, right? Other than just being colleagues, they actually developed a pretty good friendship. So that's pretty nice. And then Father Marcus is like, you know what, I should probably start heading home. And so he leaves. And Father Marcus is actually watching the TV, right? And he notices something very interesting. It's like a plot to assassinate the Pope. Then he automatically leaves, right? He automatically leaves, and he goes to the place where Father Bennett was earlier in the episode. Now we see Father Bennett in the car, driving in the car with the Pope, and the Pope says something, right? And the Pope says something, and all of a sudden, the two guards grab Father Bennett and put a bag on his head. That's all we get to see. So is Father Bennett dead, or did he just get kidnapped? This whole conspiracy that's going on in the show is a lot bigger than what people think it is, right? And then Father Marcus recognizes this guy he met when he was homeless, and he's like, how in the hell could have gotten, right? And he sees him on the news, and how he has a whole bunch of like military grade hardware on, like, he's like, and some other stuff. And he's like, how in the hell could he afford all of that? And then somehow Father Marcus comes to the conclusion, it's like, this isn't over yet. This whole ordeal is not over yet. And boy, oh boy, could he not be right. Because are we left with a cliffhanger at the end of this episode? While everyone is getting ready to move back at the Rance house, right? While everyone's getting ready to move back at the Rance house, we see a moment between Angela and her mother, Chris McNeil, and all of a sudden, Angela starts saying these really, really weird things, right? And she says one thing that indicates something that catches her eye, that catches Chris's eye, because she's been through all this exorcism stuff 2 times in a row now. And she turns her back towards to Reagan, and she's like, you. And then all of a sudden, Angela snaps her mother's neck and pushes her down the stairs. So yeah, Reagan. And then you see like her eye kind of move to the left, and you see like the red. So the demon actually successfully possessed Reagan McNeil again. That is where the episode leaves off. Is where the demon pretty much kills Chris McNeil, since it has pretty much possessed Reagan twice now. But here is the question. When did the demon possess Reagan McNeil? Now, I have my own little theory about this. I think the demon actually possessed Reagan for the second time when he was inside her mind poking around. I think what he did was he left like a piece of himself in her somehow. Because I knew that conversation earlier in the episode had more significance than him just showing her, reminding her what exactly happened in the past. So I think he actually possessed her again during that scene. Right? While he was in her mind talking to her. Or another possibility I came up with while watching the episode is that, like, the exorcism finder kind of worked, but it kind of seemed like with how strong the demon was, it seemed like it was kind of easy well, easier than what it has been, should I say, before it finally worked, and in case he was free again. So like I said, he either left a piece of her in his mind, in her mind, like when he was there talking to her. Or another thing, and during that sequence, while he was in her mind, is kind of similar to what Father Damien Karras did in the original movie. Is that maybe Reagan in the Exorcist TV show made a deal with the demon we didn't get to see really off screen, where the deal was like if he would leave her daughter, that he could take her. So there's that possibility too. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think of The Exorcist TV show episode 8. Till then, guys, catch you later. Have a good night or good day, depending where you are.